Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video I'm going to be doing a bit of a requested one. I did get straight 9s in my GCSEs. It's just a little quick thing I did for each subject and then an overall kind of revision plan I had. I hope you guys find it useful and enjoy the video. I'll just get started again with a little disclaimer. This isn't meant to be me kind of bragging about the grades I got. I took maths, triple science, English lit, English lang, history, geography, Spanish and art, and yeah, I got 9s in all of them. I was the first year group where most of the exams were graded 9 to 1 rather than A star to like U, I guess. That was back in the summer of 2018. I was at state school, state comprehensive, not grammar. All of my teaching was free. I didn't have any tutors from outside of school. So this is also meant to be a bit of a video about how you can get really good grades without spending a lot of money. I will say I did buy like textbooks and revision books and things like that, but I don't think I spent more than £50 on that kind of stuff. So it's quite an affordable method, hopefully. Yeah, let's get going. I got my laptop. What I've got on here now is kind of the revision plan I had from Easter holiday. So I was on a school trip for the first 4 days of the holiday with my geography class. We went to Iceland. It was really amazing. I'm so glad I got to go because I'm fairly sure most of the year 11s won't have had any school trips this year. The first thing I seem to have done was art. The reason for that was I had an art coursework deadline pretty much at the end of the holiday, so I needed to get the art over and done with by like May. So I think I had 4 very intense days of just doing art and a bit of maths by the looks of it. And then the week after that I did a mixture of history, geography and English lit and a bit of Spanish and a bit of art at the end. I think I was more confident with maths and science, so I didn't do as much of that, like that kind of stuff. And again, I had a lot of history and geography homework and like coursework, so not for history, but I had a bit of coursework. No, I didn't, it was 100% exams, that's a lie. I had field work for geography that needed to be like written up, so I timetabled time in for that. And then I think after that week, the holiday was finished. So I dropped down the amount of stuff I was doing to just 1/2 of the day because there just wasn't time after school, like finishing at 4 to come home and do loads of more hours of work. So I just did 1 subject a day, trying to make sure I covered everything. So my main tip in terms of scheduling would be make sure you cover everything. Don't leave any subject untouched, but equally devote more time to the subjects that need more time. So I put more time into geography and history than the others just because they have more content. I must have had a coursework deadline for art coming up because again I upped the intensity of that at the weekends. But also art was one of my favourite subjects because it just was quite passive and quite fun. So I think I picked for it to happen at the weekend because I liked spending the entire day doing art. I thought that was quite nice. So you don't have to make your revision boring, you can make it fun. I also was quite specific with what I wanted to do each time. So for English, for example, I put down that I wanted to do poetry, part of literature, like paper 2 language, history C&P is history, crime and punishment, history NA is Nazis. So geography FW, field work, geography economics, geography urban. So I've got that kind of split up, especially later on where I've been a lot more specific. So I think the yellow are like when I had exams, and I think the ones that aren't must be half term. Wednesday is my Spanish speaking exam. Monday and Tuesday were my art exams. This Tuesday and Wednesday and Thursday I think I must have had biology exam, maybe a geography and a chemistry exam. Loads of exams on that week 8. Then it was half term week 9, which is why I've done intense amount of revision, like 3 different things a day. And then week 10 I must have had exams. And then week 11 I had exams, and I think I finished on Friday, which is why I put yay. So make sure on your timetable you put in when you're finishing the exams, when your exams are. So yeah, this is my whole entire schedule from the first week of the holiday right up until the last day of the exams. So it's an 11-week slog, but 100% worth it doing it like this. And it's not even like intensely detailed, just like, okay, you need to do this on this day, you need to do that on that day. So that's that. Then in terms of generally making sure I got everything covered, I made another schedule of like what it was exactly that I needed to do for that week. So for example, this is one schedule that I had 1 week, and I've got a thing for each subject, like what I need to do. So I knew that I needed to do 2 physics papers. I spelled physics wrong, it's clearly tired. 2 physics papers and consolidation. English language, I needed to practice persuasive techniques, creative techniques and structured language analysis. And then this side of my screen, what I'm showing you is how I planned sort of afternoons throughout the year. Before the summer term, I had this schedule that I would make sure I covered all of my subjects every week, so I wasn't forgetting any subjects. And I also scheduled in a piano lesson, so I had a piano lesson once a week on Monday. So geography, obviously I've got the content. I don't know why I didn't put in physics. I guess I did that at the weekend. But yeah, that was my plan for the evenings in the week, just a couple hours each week up until the Easter holiday. And then after Easter holiday, I went into this other intense plan. Okay, so that's that bit. And then I'll come on to the specific subjects. So as I said, I did maths, English, science, Spanish, geography, history, and art. And art was a bit different because obviously I didn't have like an exam where I had to learn content. I just had 2 days worth of intense art in the art classroom where I had to make a final piece. So once that was out there, I just focused on all of the ones that had exams, and all the ones that did have exams were 100% exam based. I had no coursework for any of them, not even Spanish. So I've got here my little tips. Hopefully I won't forget them and I won't have to look at the screen that much, but if I do, forgive me. First one is maths, and that is practice papers. And what I put down is that I did 1 to 2 a week from January onwards. Our teachers kind of gave us, as a class, they gave us a pack of past papers, and they said, okay, you need to do like September 2012 paper this week, due in for next week. So each weekend we all got given a practice paper to do, and we had to do them, and then the teacher marked them, and I can't believe how much marking they must have done. But I'm very thankful, so shout out to Miss Hagley, because she was a gem and our class all did really well. So I'm fairly sure that's just down to doing past papers. There's no point making notes for maths or like learning the technique over and over again. Just once you've nailed it, practice it. And it's very much the case that practice makes perfect. There are a couple of good websites. So Physics and Maths Tutor Online, we'll put a picture up here. And then the MathSpot website, I will also put a picture here of what it looks like. You can generate exam style questions, and that's a really, really good way to kind of get used to the format of the paper. Another thing to do is if you do a past paper and you're consistently getting one specific thing wrong, like you're really awful at quadratic equations and you just can't find the solution to what the value of x is, then do loads of practice papers on it, specific questions on quadratic equations, and the MathSpot website's really good for that. In terms of English, I've split this into literature and language, but for literature, I think it's not so much about practicing loads and loads of past papers and writing out countless exams, because it will take you hours and you're not actually going to get through that much content because each exam is only one specific theme. What's better to do is to just revise the themes in your own time in a much more quick and efficient way. So it's much more about technique and understanding the question and the themes and the topics of the text, rather than practicing so many essays that you're just burnt out by the end and by the time the exam comes. So understanding the format of the papers, mind mapping the key themes is a really good thing to do, and getting a bank of quotes and then just learning the quotes. Look at past papers, that's not to say like ignore them completely, but just brainstorm answers. Don't spend hours writing an essay that probably won't come up in the exam. Devote time to each text evenly. So if you've got Lord of the Flies, A Christmas Carol, Jekyll and Hyde, Romeo and Juliet, like poems, don't just do poems, do all of them. And definitely, maybe if you want to do it a bit unevenly, spend more time on the one you're least confident with, but definitely don't neglect any one of them and spend all your time doing one or other. So like I think you would have seen on my timetable, I'd scheduled in that I would do specific time on each text, so I didn't miss anything. And then I've learn some poems from each theme really well. So I think in our poetry anthology, I did AQA, and in our poetry anthology we did power and conflict, but some people did like love and I don't know, the other one was something about love. And there were a couple of like good poems that fit quite a lot of themes. So I just thought, well, I'll just learn these several poems in a lot of depth and then apply them to whatever exam question I get, because I've at least learned one poem from each theme that could come up. So that was really useful, and it saved me so much time, because there were some poems I just was like, yeah, I'm gonna learn this in very little depth just in case I'm really clutching at straws, but there's a couple that I'll learn in a lot more depth, and that was really good. If you want to get a lot of like really good marks, top grades, like get that 9 rather than the 8, then something you can do is reading on critical theories. So this is all about getting a bigger picture about themes and the historical context of the text. If you ask your teacher for some help on critical theories, they'll understand what you mean. It's kind of learning, so for example, I did Christmas Carol and we learned about a kind of theory of the Victorian era that was the issues and the cause of poverty were due to overpopulation, and so there were some theories going around about how we should kill off the poor, and that rings true to a lot of the views of Scrooge. And there was another theory that kind of counteracted that, so you can bring that into your essay and it will really show that you've done extra reading and read around the subject. For things like Lord of the Flies, it's quite useful to read up on feminist theory and Freudian theory and how the brain works, because a lot of that is demonstrated in the primitive nature of the boys in the text. So there's definitely really good ways to bring in wider reading to your essay, and you will get so many marks for that. So definitely, if you're aiming for top grades, wider reading and critical theory will help you with that. So yeah, ask your teacher. And then in terms of YouTube, there's loads of stuff for English. So for example, Mr. Bruff, everyone's heard of Mr. Bruff. What I would say about him is, because everyone's heard of him, he's a bit overused. So don't use his points necessarily. There are more other alternative options out there, including Mrs. Whelan's English, which was really good. I used that. She has literally got like grade 9 example essays that she picks apart and goes through in so much detail. And then Mr. Saleh's English class, or Mr. Saleh's Teacher's English, that one is like the best. I used that for so much of my English revision, made notes from his videos, learned his points, so credit to him because he probably helped me get the 9. But yeah, all free, like free. Just don't spend loads of money buying books and tuition when there are literally teachers out there online for free. Really good, make use of them. And final thing about English is you can cheat the system with your quotes. So don't, I kind of already said this with the poems, but if you learn quotes that fit into multiple essay themes, you'll save yourself from learning like 5 different quotes per theme and then just having hundreds of quotes. Just learn like 5 quotes that fit 5 themes, and then you've only learnt 5 quotes, and that way you can save yourself a lot of hassle. Okay, and then English language is a bit more of a different kettle of fish. So I was stressed out my mind for English language because my teacher just didn't really cover it in class. I think it's more because it's not the one you have to pass. I think you have to pass. Maybe no, you do have to pass English language. But anyway, it's not the one that teachers tend to spend more time on. I think it's because there's less content to learn. That's probably why, even if it's the one you have to pass, there's less content to learn because it's a lot more creative writing. So the best thing to do is to learn the features of different writing styles. I'm the kind of person that likes learning what do I need to do to pass this exam or to get a good grade? And there are a few things you can do, even though it's a creative subject. So you can learn the features of what makes a good piece of literature, so the rule of 3 for persuasive writing, how to use alliteration effectively in titles, how to use different imagery. Just learning those techniques is really good, and that will also help you with analysing the work that you haven't seen before. So they give you an unseen text in the exam. At least they did for AQA. They give you unseen text. If you've learned all the rules to incorporate into your own writing, you'll be a lot better at picking them up from other people's work. So don't overly stress about English language. I had recurring nightmares after the exam about English language because I just thought, I have no idea what's going on in this paper. But if you learn the techniques, you will be okay. And yeah, ask your teacher for help outside of lessons if you haven't covered things in class. It's not that they don't want to help you, it's genuinely that there's just too much to cover in the new GCSE syllabuses. Or at least there was back when I was doing it. They might have figured out how to cover it all now, but if there isn't time in class, don't freak out, just ask your teacher outside of lesson. And then for science, so I did triple science, I did AQA, biology, chemistry and physics. And for that, a bit like with maths, there's just like nothing else to say other than use your past papers. There are so many that are cheap and free online. I ordered some from Amazon that the school recommended we order. I think they were about £12 for the entire pack, and within that I had work solutions, 5 or 6 papers per like exam. I think the reason they did that was because we were the first set of new exams, and so there weren't past papers. There just weren't any because we were the first year group. They didn't release any like past papers or specimen. There was one specimen paper and we used it as a mock. So the only thing to do was to buy past papers or practice papers. Now those are all available for free on the Physics and Maths Tutor. So please use the Physics and Maths Tutor website. Here's a reminder of what it looks like. And if you do all those past papers, learn the problem topics, learn the mark schemes, especially for biology. So biology is a really wordy science. Compared to physics and chemistry, there's less equations, much more written answers. If you learn the mark scheme, you will learn the terminology that you need to use to get marks and the terminology that will lose you marks. So for example, don't go saying that energy is created by mitochondria. It isn't created, you can't create energy. You can say energy is provided by mitochondria. So that's the kind of thing I mean about learning the mark scheme really well, especially for biology. Flashcards are also your friend, so if you've got time before the exam, if you start your revision, let's say even at the end of year 10, then over the summer, well actually I would say take a summer holiday off, But over the winter term of year 11 and the summer term of year 10, you can definitely be making some flashcards on the topics that you've just covered. Maybe if you have a topic test coming up, then make topic flashcards for that exam. And then by the time you've got the real one in the summer, you've got all these amazing flashcards, and just get your parents, carers, grandparents, friends, siblings to go through them with you. And then before you know it, you've learned everything, and then you're going to ace all of your past papers. Also, if you want to check out YouTube, everyone knows about the free science lessons dude. He is a lot of fun, we love his videos, but what I will say is they only go over the basic concepts, not in a lot of depth. So, and also they're not 100% exam board specific. So in AQA, for example, I don't think you get the marks for saying the mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell. But a lot of people from other schools were like, I got to college and they were like, oh yeah, the mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell. And I was like,
I've never heard this in my life.
I think that's because for some exam boards that's allowed, and I think the free science lessons guide does say that, so just bear that in mind. Another one is Primrose Kitten. She's a gem. Her YouTube videos are great, they are free, and she goes over an entire A-level and GCSE paper in like 2 hours, like the entire syllabus for that paper, she will go through it. So it's really good for making sure you've nailed the basics like the night before the exam, but it's definitely not for like in-depth revision detail, everything you need to know, but just good checklist kind of thing. Okay, coming on to the options I took. So as I said, I did history, geography, Spanish and art. So first one is history. In terms of this, at least for me, we did a weird exam board. We did the Welsh, well not weird, but we did the Welsh exam board. We did WJEC, and like no one's heard of it, or like it's partnered with Educast, but it's WJEC exam board. And I had 4 papers, one on Nazi Germany, one on Elizabethan era, one on crime and punishment. That was a really broad spread of years, so it was like 500 AD to now, so broad. And then America post 1920s, I think. It was really cool. So I loved everything I did in history. It was definitely probably my favourite GCSE that I had, and I'm kind of sad I didn't keep it going, but don't tell anyone at uni because they will think I'm a medic, but secretly I love history. So flashcards are your friend, a bit like with the science. If you have a test coming up, like an end of topic test, use it to revise for like a real exam. Make flashcards for that exam, and then by the time you've got the real exam coming up, you've already got the flashcards and you can just flick through them. And I promise you, future you will thank you if you make flashcards as you go along rather than at the end. It's so worth it. I genuinely can't even describe. And also it's quite impressive because at the end of it you have like a fat wad of flashcards, and everyone's like, how on earth have you made all of these? And the thing was, you made them all months ago. So yeah, use your mock exams and your mini exams for help, and don't spend too long on the source analysis questions worth less marks. So if there are any essay questions in your exam that are literally worth 4 or 5 marks, don't treat them like they're worth 40, treat them like they're worth 4. Like literally 5 minutes, 2 points, pick out 2 things from the source. I can see a man in a hat. What does that mean? Talk about it. Next thing, also like get fast at writing. That will help you with every question, be it a long one, a short one. Get fast at writing for history, there's no other way around it. Unless you can, I don't know how they're doing exams now, but I presume for GCSEs they're still handwritten. If you have a laptop for any accessibility needs, then great, good for you. But if you don't, just get fast at handwriting. There's literally no other way around it. But yeah, make it simple with your flashcards. Don't put too much information on one flashcard, keep it to topics, keep it to key dates and key facts only. So maybe have a color-coded system as well. So for example, for Elizabeth, I think I had like 6 different topics. I had a different colour code for each different pack of flashcards, and that just in your head makes it more mentally, oh, I can remember the blue flashcard said this, the green flashcard said that. So keeping it simple with key dates and facts only. Spend equal time on each topic. So I had, like I said, I had 4. I made sure that on my revision plan I had said, okay, I want to spend time on each of these. And yes, discuss the concepts with a very interested person. I'm very thankful in that my parents are both quite interested in history, mainly my dad. My dad loves history. So in the evenings he'd just be like, oh yeah, okay, do you want to revise Elizabeth? And I just kind of be like, well yeah, but I don't want to do flashcards. So just talk about it. And that actually will make you recall facts that you didn't even know you'd remembered. And it's a really fun way to do it. Okay, geography. So for geography, I did AQA. So we had 3 papers. One was like human geography, one was physical geography, and then the other one was like a sort of fieldwork and pre-release resource booklet, which is such a weird concept, but basically they release a booklet in like 6 weeks before the exam, and then you have time to free read for the exam. It's kind of weird, but that in itself is very important. If you get given any resources before your exam, please use them. Pre-read that booklet to death. Highlight, annotate, do everything to it, and like, I don't know, just think about the questions that could come up, because That way you save yourself a lot of time in the exam. I think the third paper, which has this thing in it, is the most tight for time. There's more marks than there are minutes. If you can save yourself time by like having already read and memorized, not memorized by heart, but kind of familiarized yourself with the pre-release booklet, then that will save you so many minutes in the exam, because you won't have to flip through trying to find the right page, because you know where it is. Okay, and then the same goes for your case studies. Learn those case studies before the exam. Don't be like, oh, I can't remember what the case study on transport in India was. Be like, oh, I remember the case study on transport in India was set in Mumbai, and then just record it and like put all your thoughts down on the page so quickly that you will be flicking through that paper, and you'll even give yourself enough time to check your answers. And yeah, just don't waste time in the exams. If you can't remember it, move on. There is a lot of content for geography, and there are a lot of marks in the paper, so just do your best to answer as many questions as you can. But ultimately, if you can't remember something, put something down and then move on. The same with kind of like history and English. Look at past papers, but don't spend hours and hours and hours practicing a million past papers for geography, because they're so varied. The topics change year on year, and it's good to understand the structure of the exam and the types of questions that get asked. So for example, understanding what you'll discuss, what you'll use an example, explain what all of those keywords and buzzwords in the exam mean is really useful, but you're not going to gain anything from writing and spending hours on one paper when the topics are going to change each year. What you're better off doing is learning those topics. So flashcards. For geography, I made PowerPoints, and I had a PowerPoint for each topic we studied. So I had a PowerPoint on rivers and waterfalls. So I had a PowerPoint on rivers and waterfalls, and I just put all of the content into that one PowerPoint, and each slide was like a flashcard, and I just got my mum to flip through and test me on them. And then use your maths techniques, learn them. So if you've got techniques like you need to calculate, I can't actually remember what maths is used in geography. If there is maths used in geography, make sure you learn how to do it. Okay, Spanish. So this is the last one I'm going to talk about, because obviously art, I'll do a separate video on my art when I go home. I'm still at uni, so when I go home I'll film my art sketchbooks, because they are at home, and my final pieces I think are at home as well. Anyway, Spanish. So Quizlet, Quizlet and more Quizlet. There's no way around it. Quizlet, or if you're a revision pro, even Anki. Some of you might know what Anki is. You can use Quizlet or Anki, and Duolingo is also a lot of fun. So I downloaded Duolingo in the summer of year 10 and just used it as a bit of a casual way to keep up with my Spanish for fun. But it's definitely not comprehensive, and it won't teach you everything you need to know to pass the exam. So Duolingo was good fun. It's quite like fun, active recall revision. Quizlet is definitely what you need for either conjugations of verbs and vocab. If you go into Quizlet and you just search Spanish AQA GCSE vocab, I promise you, someone has made like a 4,000 word translation of all of the key vocab, and it's like the abstract stuff like AIDS and HIV and cigarettes and like weird vocab that they throw at you in the exam, and you think, God, how am I meant to know what this text is about? I have no clue what this word means. They put all of these words into one Quizlet, and just please use it. Do like 50 words every 3 days from January onwards until the exam, and you will smash that. Like, what is it, listening and reading paper, you're going to smash those, because those are the ones where they put these weird words in, but you're going to know what they all mean, and you'll get so many more marks, literally so many more marks, because it's all about context for that exam. In terms of your spoken exam, so the oral exam and the writing exam, you need to get really good at using key themes, tenses and complex sentences. Complex sentences are going to get you those top marks, so make sure you learn them. These are things like using connectives in the right place, using words that don't translate directly into English, using comparatives and superlatives. So yeah, that concludes my GCSE subjects, and a quick fire, I mean, it's not that quick, it's probably going to be like a 20-minute video, but how I got my run of my sweep of 9s, and I'm going to do it even though they probably don't watch my channel. So shout out to all of my teachers. We have Miss Hagley for maths, Miss Stewart for English, we had Miss Birtwistle, Mr Harvey, Mr Thomas for physics, History Miss Pizzulo, Geography Miss Summerfeld, Spanish Miss Donya. That's that. Thank you very much for watching, and please make sure you check out, one other resource for free. Check out the Medic Collective, which are the little group that I'm a part of. I'm the YouTube officer, and all of their resources are also free, so please check them out online. I will put a little link down below, and here's a little picture of the logo on the website, but please check them out because it's free. There's loads of stuff on GCSEs, there's loads of stuff on A-levels, other stuff like just applying to med school in general, but it's all free because that's what we're here for. I don't want anyone thinking they need to spend money to get into medical school or to do well exams, because that is not the case. I can prove it. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you guys next time.